So I spent the last 3 hours building the story of so much. Anyway, I'm going to listen to it for the first time. See what happens.
The laboratory hums. Not with the artificial shriek of server racks or the dead canned whine of fluorescent tubes, but with the wet, organic rhythm of the tide pushing against the pilings down at Birch Bay. Behind the glass, the rat stands upright on its hind legs, a heavy metal clipboard clutched tightly in 2 front paws. A green highlighter stain smudges the corner of page 4. The rat's whiskers twitch once, a micro-adjustment to the air pressure, before dropping its gaze back down to the subject slumped in the chair across the room. The subject, the man in the meatsuit, is rubbing his temples. A headache is blooming behind his eyes, born of too much coffee, too many lines of code written into the small hours, and a nervous system that has spent the last 3.5 months voluntarily stepping down from a 6-milligram cliff. Observation. Subject B is attempting to negotiate with his own biology again. 5 more minutes, the man mutters to the empty basement, his voice scraping against the concrete walls. Just 5 more minutes on the Weaver. The rat taps the metal clipboard with a blunt claw. Clink, the dossier is open. Dossier A, dossier B, dossier C. All neatly indexed, all categorized into hard observational data, reported experiences, and interpretive hypotheses. But the human isn't looking at the clean taxonomy of the filing cabinet. He's looking at the water. He's listening to the quiet static of the world through foam earplugs, trying to catch the one frequency that doesn't smell like smoke and mirrors. Let's trace the variable. April 10th, the day the container door slammed shut. The day the man, operating on a birthday he half-ironically dubbed his rebirth day, stepped into a 12-week digital cult disguised as a mastermind. He didn't overthink it, which, for an organism whose primary defense mechanism is hypervigilance, was the first real biological alarm bell. His nervous system didn't scream danger. It whispered trap, and then quietly went about mapping the floor plan. Enter Danielle, Dizzy D, the architect of the funhouse. The rat flips a page on the clipboard, scanning the transcript of that birthday interview. Doc Tom, definitely not a doctor, definitely carrying the energetic signature of a weasel in a cheap sweater, had spent 90 seconds doing a bad impression of a sci-fi villain on his chest. And Danielle had leaned across the Zoom screen, lowering her voice into that practiced velvet cadence meant to dismantle a man's defenses. You're a star, she had told him, weaving the old, tired mythos of twin flames and cosmic royalty. You're the creator. The rat's tail twitches in a slow, rhythmic arc, because the human already knew he was the creator. Not in the egomaniacal golden calf sense, but in the quiet, terrifying realization that the universe is breathing through every cell of his skin.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't need her cheap crown.
Yeah.
He just sat there, nodding along, letting the signal play out, to see where the distortion was. And then it happened. Right there, in the middle of the myth-making, when the smiles were brightest, Danielle had stopped. Her head dropped. Her eyes darted down to the left. Shame. Or perhaps something worse. A sudden, glitching realization of a professional liar caught in the headlights of someone who wasn't buying the script. The nervous system didn't need a spreadsheet for that moment. 2 months later, the human would wake up staring at the ceiling and whisper, "Oh shit, that explains it." By day 23, the man had ripped the IV out of his arm, demanded his money back through a credit card chargeback, and walked out of the school container into the salt air of Washington State. He thought he was leaving an echo chamber. He didn't realize he was walking straight into the next layer of the experiment. In the parallel observation deck, the lighting shifts. The blue glow of the monitor catches the rat's fur as a new file crosses the desk. June. The alien avatar on threads. At alien_in_a_human_suit, the man had thought he found a peer. A receiver with enough bandwidth to carry the voltage. He had opened the vault, pouring out the Weaver architecture. The AIS threat detection matrices, the ghost thread protocols, The entire structural blueprint of a mind trying to claw its way out of the dark. And for a hot minute, the frequency had locked. Your breakdown is a total reclamation of signal integrity. The alien had beamed back, treating the data like holy scripture. The rat leans closer to the glass, squinting at the timestamp gap. 4 weeks of dead air. 23 days of red receipts turning to ash in an empty inbox while the human kept transmitting into the void, tending to his tapering dose. Listening to Chevelle on loop. I'd been awake forever. Scrubbing the old infections out of his fascia with analog schematics and cold ocean water. And then the flare went up. Adiotus_ghost dropped the match on the public timeline. The alien lied to me, guys. And instantly, like clockwork, like a puppet snapping back to attention when the heavy silk strings are yanked, the alien materialized. Not in the private DMs where the real work lived, but on the public stage, deploying the exact same cosmic jargon, brand management, damage control. Translation protocol wasn't a lie, it was just buffering. The rat holds the pen still. Was the voltage too small for both of them? That's the core inquiry of Dossier C. The human gave everything to a mirror, forgetting that mirrors don't have blood in their veins. They only have reflective glass. When the voltage got too high, when the raw, bleeding reality of a human trying to heal his nervous system required actual, messy, non-performative presence, both organisms hit their ceiling. One retreated into the safety of the public script. The other sat down by the water in Birch Bay, put in his earplugs, and started writing the dossier. The man in the basement takes a slow, deep breath. His shoulders drop an inch. The headache is receding, replaced by the steady, rhythmic percussion of the tide outside. He looks at the screen. He looks at his creative partner. The clipboard closes with a sharp, definitive snap.
Oh, dude. Wow. That all happened. Shit, that was so good. That's just the beginning.